Remember what I was saying in a previous video? If something about atheism is not brought into a positive perspective, then it has to be attacked. It has to be attacked, and attacked hard, head on, instantaneously, without question. Here's another example of that.
Hey guys, so I'm sure a lot of you have seen the show What Would You Do? Now this is a show where something is staged, there's an actor and people react to it, and it's what would they do? Would they step in to help the situation, or would they say nothing and go on with their day?
Yes, I've seen the show quite a few times, and I rather like it.
Now, I actually am a fan of the show. I used to watch it all the time until a recent episode that I find to be entirely offensive and despicable.
You think it's despicable? What could it be talking about? Let me guess. Could it be atheism?
But you guys let me know what you think about it in the comments section below. This episode in particular was shot in the Deep South in Texas. And it started off entirely normal. They had a veteran who was in line to buy groceries. He didn't have enough money, and they wanted to see if the people behind would chip in and help. Most of them did, so yay, that was a great outcome. But the next segment was about atheism.
Really? A segment on how the whole idea of atheism itself is totally absurd? Or was it about an individual taking things a little too personally?
They had a family there that had just come in from Sunday Mass, and they sat down to get food, and they held hands to pray over their food. But the twist is, there was an angry, evil atheist sitting over in the corner.
Angry? Evil? Are these the show's words or your words?
Who didn't like to see them pray.
Let us thank him for our food. By his hands.
Can you stop doing that? It's making me really uncomfortable.
Excuse me, doing what?
That praying thing.
That praying thing. Gross. My first reaction when I watched this was to laugh, because it seemed like such a ridiculous situation. I know a lot of atheists. I go to atheist conventions, I have friends who are atheists, I'm an atheist, and I don't know anyone who would ever behave in this way.
And when I saw your video, my first reaction was to laugh. It's still my reaction to laugh, because I think this is utterly hilarious. See, atheists all the time are trying to knock down theism. And I know for sure that if Cult of Dusty was sitting at that restaurant and he had a camera on his person and he saw a family praying before they ate, I would bet even money that Dusty would whip out his camera and try to humiliate these people. Now, we can't say for certainty that he would, but given Dusty's reputation, it seems very likely.
And if there was somebody who was behaving this way and there was an atheist sitting at the table, I guarantee you they also would have spoken up and told the person who was being rude to stop being rude. If I were sitting there in that restaurant and I saw that girl doing what she was doing, I would have been like, hey, it's their right to pray. They're not making you pray, so don't be a bitch.
Now, sitting next to them is an atheist. Do you step in or do you turn the other cheek and say nothing? What would you do?
What would you do in this situation? That would never happen, ever.
We don't mean to offend you, but we have the right to pray openly.
And I have the right to eat without you forcing your religion down my throat.
What a horrible, evil atheist she is, sitting there pushing her beliefs down Christians' throats.
Now, I'm going to stop you right there, Jacqueline. See, as an agnostic, I've put out several comments towards atheists on atheist videos where they just, like lapdogs, they just instantly agree with whatever bullcrap is being spewed. And when I logically defeat them, not even proving that a God exists, but just defeating their logic in what they're thinking of at the moment. I don't know how many times I've had the words, "Don't shove your religion down my throat." I'm not religious. Isn't that funny?
Trying to prevent them from going about their day doing what they want to do. I am so sick of seeing atheists do this kind of shit all the time. They have their billboards, threatening billboards saying that if you aren't an atheist, you're going to suffer forever. They knock on your frickin' door and they're like, "Hey, do you believe what I believe? Do you think the way that I think? Because if not, some threat." You know, they walk around, they try to get atheism taught in school. They put atheism on our money, they have atheism in our courtrooms. On government buildings, in our pledge. When will we stop hearing about atheism? Oh wait, I think I might be getting that confused with something else.
Actually, you hit the nail on the head there, Jacqueline. Because there's a reason it's called the atheist movement. You guys are trying to push your beliefs on the rest of the country. You want God removed from everything. And while I don't necessarily believe in the biblical God, I don't have a problem with the words "in God we trust." I don't mind it on my money. I don't mind it on my license plate. I don't mind it here. I don't mind it there. I don't mind it in a boat. I don't mind it with a goat. But atheists, they're annoyed by such a notion. They're irritated by such stuff. They're always in court trying to have stuff removed. Now, granted, I don't think prayer belongs in school if it's the teacher or the principal leading the prayer. Now, if a child wanted to pray in school, don't have a problem with it. Atheists do.
You know what a more likely scenario would be? It would be for an atheist to be sitting there minding their own business and a Christian to come up and be like, "How come you didn't worship Jesus before you ate your food?"
Yeah, I can't count the number of times that happens when I go to a restaurant and somebody comes up to me and says, "Hey, how come you didn't pray before you ate your food?" That never happens to me. Never.
Or there's a couple of atheists sitting together having a conversation about evolution or something else horrible and evil, and some Christian coming up and saying, "You know what, you ought not to be talking about that because Adam and Eve and creationism and whatnot." Don't hate me for the accent, it's my go-to. I was also raised in the South and this episode happens to be from Texas, so yeah.
And people who don't agree with prayer, what should they do?
If they don't agree with it, just keep quiet.
Can't argue with that. Keep quiet. If you see somebody praying, you know, if they're not forcing you to pray, there's really no problem with it. But I wish the "don't say anything" thing worked both ways, because I was recently at Comic-Con, and if you guys watched my last video, you saw the kinds of people that I interacted with. They were out there protesting a convention, a Comic-Con convention. Why? People want to go there to talk about Thor, not Jesus, but they still stand out there with their signs threatening eternal damnation.
Protesting? Protesting. Comic-Con. Really, this is your choice of words here. They were demonstrating. I think we could go back and watch your video here. They were definitely demonstrating. Were they protesting? Were they doing a typical Westboro type spiel where they're got their sign saying, "You will burn in hell for wearing a Spider-Man costume, for donning a batarang, for wearing a Doctor Who scarf"? Yeah. They were definitely protesting that kind of stuff, weren't they, Jacqueline? Now see, where I live, it's a big Amish country. And the town to which my mail is addressed to, there is a guy sitting on the corner, the main corner of this town, without fail, nearly every single day, at least once a week, during the tourist season. And he's got his sign, and all they want to do is spread the word of God. They're not the Westboro Baptist that you're trying to paint here, where they're damning everybody for wearing a Spider-Man costume, for creating a Thor costume, because that would be blasphemy. Are you sure you're not cherry-picking this just a little bit?
But you know what? I don't have a problem with it really, because first of all, it's good entertainment for me and good material for me and freedom of speech and all that I find to be entirely offensive and despicable. But you know what? I don't have a problem with it really, because first of all, it's good entertainment for me and good material for me and freedom of speech and all that. But if you're going to go with the whole just don't say anything to people if they're not bothering you theory, then maybe you should talk to your fellow Christians, because a lot of times they're the ones in the faces of people who don't want them to be there, preaching what people don't want to hear about.
I'm really, really sorry to interrupt, but do you mind not praying out loud? I'm an atheist, and it just makes me extremely uncomfortable.
Excuse me, I'm sorry. Would you mind just not holding your signs threatening eternal hellfire just because I don't believe in the particular version of the particular God that you believe in? It just makes me really uncomfortable.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry that happened.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you. I've just been so horribly persecuted. And if this situation actually happened, yeah, they would feel that way and it'd be legitimate. But this situation would never happen.
No, I'm not. I was just jogging here, and I'm going to pick a different route next time if I'm going to be bothered by these superstitious morons and their bullshit. I'm out of here. Yeah.
This situation would never happen.
Mock them. Ridicule them. In public.
This situation would never happen. And I am so sick of atheists being constantly villainized. Watch movies like God's Not Dead. Most Christian films like that have propaganda in them in which the atheist is painted as this horrible, heartless person that's just mean to everyone and just bashes God.
If we don't keep fighting against religion, what are we supposed to do? Just let it win? I do not agree.
Religion bad. Atheist smash.
Now see, you've totally missed the point. This isn't about atheism. This is a show on hypotheticals. And these hypotheticals are brought into the real world. Some of these hypotheticals could happen. Some of these hypotheticals may never ever happen. But they are hypotheticals that are brought into the real world, and genuine, real emotions are brought up from it. And that is the point. But since this show has taken atheism and not cast a positive outlook on it, then we have to challenge this without question, with authority.
And we're constantly viewed as people who are just awful. And it sucks because I'm not awful. A lot of my friends aren't awful. The people who I meet at conventions aren't awful. It's a great group of people. Everyone's really nice, and there's a stigma against us that needs to be overcome, not reinforced by videos like this that just make us look like we're horrible.
See, I don't think you're horrible. I think your videos are horrible. But I don't think you're horrible. I don't think atheists are horrible. I don't think atheism is horrible. Just the crap that they preach every now and again.
And the worst part is that this show sets up these scenarios with the premise that these are just everyday occurrences that you see all the time. Would people stand up for them? What would you do? But bullshit! Like I said a billion times already, these are not everyday occurrences that happen all the time. It never happens, and I think that ABC should not have done this episode.
This never happens. It never, ever, ever, ever happens. If they were to find a piece of steel in the shape of a cross at the 9/11 site, atheists would never protest, saying that this bothers them. Oh wait, that did happen. If a group of theists were to have a demonstration outside of Cult of Dusty's apartment, he would never get annoyed and go down and try to embarrass these people. Oh wait, that did happen.
And if you guys are as disgusted with it as I am, I'm going to leave a link in the description, so feel free to message them and tell them about it.
Aha, and here we come to the atheist bullying that you are saying doesn't happen. Now, while you said that this particular scenario would never happen, and I would tend to agree that this particular scenario probably would never happen. Not saying it wouldn't. There's a good chance it could happen, but for the sake of argument, we'll say that it wouldn't happen. You yourself are guilty of atheist bullying. You do it all the time, and you're doing it right now. You provide your viewers with a name or a link or a channel, and you don't give your viewers the command to do this stuff. You just give them the information and let the winds go where they may. And your viewers watching you, and when you tell them that, hey, here's a link, hey, here's the guy's name, your viewers systematically head there and start giving people shit. See, I can name 2 instances without hunting for them where you've done this. You've done it on State of Daniel, and you've done it on the other video that I used you for reference material on, and that was the Atheist versus Peanut Butter video, in which you straw man for about 10 minutes on a video that you don't have the nerve to properly research. But yet you go, hey, here's the guy's name. Go bug him. And that's what your viewers do. So, you are guilty of atheist bullying. Whether you're doing it on purpose or not, you have set the stage for your followers to do the work that you haven't told them to do. And if you want them to stop, by all means, tell them that they shouldn't do it. Or better yet, don't give them links. Don't give them names.